welcome to Power Women Wellness. I'm so excited to have you. How are you today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on.
I am so pumped to have you on. And I know y'all a little background is we met one-on-one. And when I met you, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to have you on because of your transition. I know you'll talk a little bit more about that, but your transition in your career. And I was like, there are probably people listening to our podcast that might be in the same spot you were in. And so I'd love to just kind of see that transformation for you. But before we get started, share with us who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so I'm Alexa Hoffman. I'm the founder of Alevan Botanica, which is a holistic wellness company rooted in Ayurveda and aromatherapy. That wasn't always my career, as you started to, kind of allude to. I used to work in the fashion industry, so that's where I kind of got started. I was working as a designer for various companies in women's wear and activewear, and really just started to experience a lot of burnout. And that's what really led me to enter the wellness space and start to study various areas to heal myself. And then now, really it's my purpose and mission through my company to bring wellness to others.
I love that. So what were some of your top red flags that you were feeling when you needed to do the transition?
Yeah, I mean, definitely physically, I was, not feeling very energetic or energized. A lot of this was working very late hours, obviously not nourishing my body with healthy foods. It was snacks here and there on the go while at work,
Oh
eating
my
at
gosh.
your desk, those sort of things. So physically, that's kind of where I was seeing symptoms. And then also mentally and emotionally, I started to really just lose excitement and passion for life. I found myself not being able to enjoy time with friends and family or even enjoy the weekend because I was really just having that sense of dread of going back into my role once the week started. So I started to
Yeah.
see, I think it started physical, and then it really, once it started to just kind of enter the mental and emotional space, that's really when it got too much.
And how was that feeling emotionally when you decided to transition? I'm assuming you're probably a little scared. How were you feeling?
Yeah. And, I'm definitely the type of person who kind of had my whole career mapped out and
Yeah.
love to plan. And I'm always like, okay, this is the plan. You get this promotion and then you get to this next step and then it's this and this. So I think for me, I did spend a little bit of time planning and making sure financially that, it was going to be okay to make a transition and take some time off. So I think, I started to feel better once I had that plan. But really, it's scary and new to pivot into a new career, even if
Yeah.
it's going to be beneficial for your health and really for your entire life. It definitely, I'm not going to lie and say it was super easy. It was
Yeah.
definitely, the moment of, kind of leaving a role in an industry I'd already been working in was very scary. I,
Yeah.
through that,
Oh my
um,
gosh.
to, transition and start to make a new path and take the time that I needed.
Yeah. And I know we'll get into your current, just routines and habits you do now, but do they differ a lot from when you were in the fashion industry?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, exercise and physical activity has always been a part of my life. Growing up,
Okay.
I was an athlete as well as the ballet dancer. So I would try to, still get workouts in. But I think my routines definitely transitioned for a lot more care for mental and emotional well-being,
Yeah.
taking time to find a bit more stillness. At this time I was living in New York City. So it's definitely a
Oh my
culture
gosh.
and a pace of go,
Yeah.
go, go all the time. So it's hard to slow down, or you feel like you're missing something if you're slowing down. So definitely my routines reflect a slower pace and just more of a grounded focus.
I love that. Do you feel like though you also what's the word I'm looking for? Maybe cherish it more because you did experience such burnout mentally and emotionally. Now it just means more to you when you started incorporating this type of self-care.
Yes, definitely. I would say so. I mean, I think you start to realize that just with a couple simple practices that you can bring into every day, you can really feel so much different. And
Yeah.
I think, there's always these times in our life and different seasons where we have, very long morning or evening routines. And sometimes we don't have as long in the morning
Yeah.
or depending on what season we're in. So I think it's all about adjustment and, finding something that can still make you feel grounded, stable, very balanced, no matter what season you're in.
Yeah, I agree. So yes, share with us, what does your morning look like? Everything from eating, drinking, mental health. Yeah. Give us the deets.
Yeah, so I am a morning person, so I'm always up very early. Especially, I try to rise as the sun is rising. So when it's warm outside and the sun's up early, 5:30, 6 a.m. is usually when I get up. I do have a toddler, so I do like to try to get up a little bit before she does, so I can kind of just have a couple moments to myself. This is definitely a phase of my life where my morning routine is a bit shorter. So I really starts with water. Sometimes I put lemon in it. Sometimes it's just drinking from my water bottle that I keep next to my bed. And then from there, I try to get some natural light, sunlight, when possible by going on a walk. Usually that's with my husband and my toddler. So it's a great time to just kind of connect and talk through, what's going on that day. And then after that, I do prioritize some type of movement. And again, this can range. Sometimes I have an hour to do a whole hour-long video. Sometimes it's sun salutations and just a 10-minute yoga flow. But prioritizing movement in the morning is a non-negotiable for my morning routine.
Okay. Yeah, I feel that. And what is on your plate? What are you eating?
Yeah, so usually breakfast for me starts in the winter time. I like to really have something warm. I feel like that's just
Okay.
best for my digestion. So usually that's oatmeal, maybe some stewed fruit, chia seeds, kind of, make it fun with toppings that are more
Yeah.
interesting than just plain oats. In the summer, I am a little more apt to make a smoothie or have some Greek yogurt with berries. So I try to, eat seasonally. So I will say in the summertime, more apt to kind of maybe have a smoothie and fit some veggies and stuff like that in there.
Nice. No, I love that. I love that you mentioned veggies in the morning because we need to like normalize. I think a lot of people, especially in the US, have this like idea that breakfast is only eggs, like muffins, pancakes, like those type of things, sausage and bacon. And I'm like, oh my gosh, no, like it is literally any other meal. Like you can have leftovers for breakfast.
I know. Yeah.
So it's crazy that like and warm soup, exactly like in the winter, like if I have leftover soup from the night before, like heck yeah, I'm like eating that for breakfast. So I think it's so interesting that people tend to forget that and they're like, oh, yeah, I can have like veggies and just different foods in the morning. I'm like, yes.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely, my studies of different Eastern medicine and Ayurveda, it's like, breakfast is usually more savory. There's spices to kind of,
Yeah.
get our digestion going. It's definitely not about sweets and kind of the US
Yes.
way of eating of like a cereal or something like that, or a pastry. So
Yes. Ooh, and I love that you brought that into like consideration with the Ayurveda. I love that. Definitely something to that for sure. Do you do anything like beauty wise in the morning?
I keep it pretty simple in the morning. Usually I definitely make sure to, apply moisturizer and kind of hydrate my skin. So really the morning is about hydration. I will say
Yeah.
lately my, skincare has been a lot more simple. I've just been seeing that work for me to not
Yeah.
have so many products and so many steps. I feel like, I grew up and often had a lot of acne. And I think it was during that time where it's like you're trying all these like harsh
Oh
astringent
yeah.
and all of these things on your skin. So really in the morning, I keep it simple. I usually just splash some water on my face and then I'm just applying a serum or a moisturizer. I try not to wear a lot of makeup. I feel like that also
Me
helps my
too.
skin and keeps me from using a lot of products. But in the morning, it's very simple.
Yeah. The episode before this one, she is someone who created a skincare line, but I love what she mentioned of that if you have a good like nighttime routine, typically your mornings aren't that much. Like maybe a little bit like SPF or vitamin C serum or something like that, but it should not be, doesn't have to be as like crazy in depth than nighttime, which is a little bit like I guess more steps. Cause yes, if you're putting on makeup and just the dirt and like just more exposure, but we're just sleeping. Not saying that there's don't do anything. Which I mean, I guess you can too, but they're so long that I didn't even like do anything to my face. I will admit, like, okay, I was probably in my 20s, so I like didn't understand that. But there's definitely times where I like went to bed with like makeup on, and now I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't even believe I did that. But obviously, like you said, seasons. But still, I'm with you, especially with having kids. Like the simple, the better. Just especially in the toddler phase of life when you're just kind of pulled in every direction, especially in the mornings. What about nighttime? What do you do to help yourself wind down?
Yeah, so my evening routine is definitely something I've been working to make a little bit longer in length, just because with a toddler, she is going to bed
Yeah.
fairly early, so there is time. I think for me, I definitely like to end my workday, which sometimes it's not a traditional workday hour as
Yeah.
I am a business owner. So sometimes I am doing some work in the evening, but I really like to end the workday kind of just jotting down a lot of main focuses for the next day. Something about just like pen to paper, very old school, like helps me mentally feel like, okay, I know what I'm doing tomorrow. It's time to, yeah, it's like, okay, now it's time to relax. And
Yes.
then, I do try to, I definitely enjoy, different series or shows that, I'm usually watch with my husband, but I try to limit screen time and definitely try to limit social media, past 8 or 9 p.m. just to
Yeah.
really start to unwind. I do enjoy, just a couple restorative yoga postures or a little bit of stretching. Lately, I've been really enjoying meditating in the evening, rather than since, my morning routine has to be a bit shorter. So I don't have this luxurious, 30 minutes to meditate. So I do like to do a shorter meditation before bed too.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I get so mad at myself when I don't like brain dump and like plan the day ahead of time because I find myself being like, oh, well, I'll do it in the morning, like first thing in the morning. And then it never happens. And then I still have like a jumbled brain of like, this is what I need to do. So I love doing that. But when I get out of the habit, like something just happens that throws me out of it. I'm like, I gotta get back to that. And every single time I'm like, I gotta get back to that. And then I don't. And then I'm like, crap. Now today's like all like unorganized. I'm like, I'll get it tonight. I'm like, crap. And I'm like, no, I just need to do it because it is absolutely true. Something about, well, I'm like pinned to iPad because I'm obsessed with like a digital planner. It's like the mix of digital, but it's not like Google Calendar. It's actually like writing things down with like my Apple Pencil. But it's like still digital. I don't know. I went on a total like rabbit hole of like digital planners on the iPad and then like digital stickers because I have a commitment problem with utilizing cute stickers in real life because I don't want to like I want to use it multiple times. Well, digital stickers are obviously the answer because you can keep reusing them. Anyways, and so that was such a like even meditative process of not only just writing things down, but yeah, like decorating, like putting the stickers and everyone's just like, how do you have time for that? I'm like, I don't know. There's something like I'm getting my brain organized, but it's also like super fun to do. And then like I wake up and it's like just like a mini little vision board and my to-do list. So it's such a vibe. But I love when I'm in that habit because it does set up the next day. Like amazing. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like killing it. I'm getting so much done.
Yeah, it definitely makes such a difference. Like it helps me unwind and relax more in the evening. And also just in the morning, I don't have to spend an hour being like, what am I doing today? What do I have to get done? I
Yes.
can just like jump right in when the workday starts. It's just
Yes.
off better.
Do you have any, as a business owner, do you have any things that like you do weekly? Like, okay, on Mondays, I do this, on Tuesdays, I do this, and in the sense of like working behind the scenes on your business. Do you have that organized as well?
Yeah, I would say I try to, I mean, things come up and change, but usually I try to kind of batch certain tasks together just to actually get stuff done and not have 10 projects
Nice.
started, but only like, 10% of each project done. So I do, on Mondays, I try to do a lot of the social media content,
Yeah.
as well as any type of blog posts or LinkedIn posts or whatever's going on for social media for that week. If I'm super organized, sometimes I have 2 weeks planned out, but the summer, I don't know, what's going on right now. It's, often just 1 week at a time. And then usually Fridays is when, I go through inventory and that's when I'm kind of ordering supplies and just making sure that we have enough stock of everything. And then I
Nice.
would say Tuesday and Thursday are kind of a mix. I try to
Yeah.
and scheduling meetings or calls with either, potential buyers or clients. I do try to group meetings together. So you're not having a meeting, every 3 hours, but not, enough time to really dive into
Yeah.
something else.
Yeah. Oh my, yeah. I know they say that it's good to just kind of focus on each task at hand, but I am pretty good at like switching from like discovery call, podcast interview, something for the kids, discovery call again. Like I don't mind that. I know they always say like science says that like you can't like task switch or something. So a lot of people just do like, okay, this is my calendar and I'll do only these type of calls or whatever. And I'm like, no, it's just kind of everywhere. I don't know. I like the different differentiating of the appointment. So it doesn't feel like the same thing all day.
And I mean, I think that can totally work too. I mean,
Yeah.
especially, having a business, it's like you can try to have this like calendar of exactly how things will go,
Yes.
but you have to be flexible. And, I am often have my daughter in my office or at home with me when I'm
Mhm.
working. So there are a lot of like chunks during the day where I'm like, okay, well, I'm working more at night tonight and spending time with her during the day. So it's a
Exactly.
flexible schedule for sure.
Exactly. And yeah, share with us. You told us a little bit about your breakfast, but what are you eating like for lunch and dinner? Like, what are your go-tos? Because you are a busy mom and running the business. So yeah, what are your go-tos?
Yeah, so I really enjoy cooking. I would say I cook most
Okay.
of the meals. And really, I try to eat seasonally. So I currently, there's a local farm that I have a CSA at, and I kind of let that be the inspiration for the week of what
Oh,
I'm cooking based on whatever vegetables are in the box. So that's been really fun and super inspiring to maybe get out of like a rut of, making the same five things. I like to, really have
yeah.
variety. But I stay organized by I usually plan meals for a whole week at one time, to just kind of have all the groceries, know what I'm cooking, makes it a lot
Yeah.
easier for me to not be like, oh, am I too tired? What are we having for dinner? But I would say usually in the morning kind of went over breakfast. Lunch, I prefer to have leftovers from whatever I cooked for dinner last night.
Yeah.
That's ideal. Sometimes it's a quick salad or making just like a veggie, like snack plate with, some protein or nuts and a cheese. But usually I prefer to have leftovers from dinner for lunch. And
Yeah.
dinner definitely varies. For me, I don't eat a ton of meat, but I'm not vegetarian. So, once or twice a week, definitely having meat, usually chicken. I also try to get some salmon or some type of fish. So a lot of sheet pan dinners that kind of have a protein and
Mhm.
veggie. I like to make a fun sauce though. I think, the best way to eat healthy is to make it interesting and something that you want to eat.
Yes.
So dinner definitely varies, but, I think, making something fresh. I love cookbooks. I love, really trying new things and never getting in this phase of I cook these 7 things every day.
Yes.
I try to really mix it up.
Okay. So two things, give us some sauce inspo. And two, what are your favorite cookbooks right now?
Yeah, so cookbooks first, Love and Lemons. There's a couple different cookbooks, and I've really loved those for a while. There's actually one of my all-time favorite recipes that I do make at least every other week. It's a Mojo black bean bowl. So there's black beans, you saute some rainbow or Swiss chard, which is a super nutritious vegetable with your grain of choice, and then getting some spicy pepitas, and then you make a sauce out of red pepper. So I think, definitely having
Mm.
a fun sauce, whether it's chimichurris, I do like Indian cuisine as well. So different types of curries, even tahini based sauces, I think can make it really fun. Cookbooks, I also really love Half Baked Harvest. There's quite a few that she has out, but I think Love and Lemons and Half Baked Harvest are great weeknight cookbooks because they're not going to be overly complicated. I'm sure we've all got,
Love.
I even have some cookbooks from like top restaurants or favorite places I've gone to,
It's a
and you
lot.
open the recipe and you're like, okay, this is going to take me 4 hours to make this. I can't do this on a Tuesday.
I would say too, my other thing about cookbooks is that some of them will have ingredients that like I just one don't have, but two like will never use again. Like it might be like one and done. And I hate recipes like that. I'm like, no, just tell me what to make with stuff I already have in my pantry. And I'm like team full pantry. So I always have like everything pretty much at all times, just in case I get like a little spurt of like inspiration or like cravings of like, oh, I want this. Like I have it on hand. But I know I love tahini sauces. But I usually stick to the same. Like it's like a garlic and lemon. Do you have any other like combos tahini based that you love?
Um, I would say I recently made a tahini sauce that had some maple syrup and a little bit of coconut
Oh,
aminos. So it kind of had more of an Asian flair mixed in there. And I thought that was
mm.
really great. I kind of used it as a sauce for chicken as well as veggies. So kind of like a saute, which is, I liked that. I usually go,
Ooh,
more Mediterranean and Greek with the garlic and lemon tahini type of sauce,
yes.
but I think it's always fun to mix it up. I also love to have all of these different types of ingredients on hand as well. So I think it's fun
Yeah.
to have cookbooks, follow recipes, but you can change things up and experiment as well.
Yes. Yes. I thankfully have little garbage disposals here that live here in this house. So I feel like even if something doesn't come out that good, they usually will eat it, which is great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I love that. Do you have any other resources that you feel like has really helped develop you as an entrepreneur? This can be a podcast or a book or even like a social media account, but anything that has really helped you as an entrepreneur and also just self-development too. Not doesn't always have to be business based.
Yeah, I love to learn. So I'm always reading or listening to something. A podcast I've been listening to for quite some time is the Almost 30 podcast. It's a
Mm.
variety of topics. Sometimes it's more business, sometimes it's spiritual wellness. But that has just been a podcast that I've really enjoyed listening to throughout the years. In terms of books, I'm always reading a couple books at a time. But one book that I read back when I was in New York, when I was starting to transition out of the fashion industry, it's a book by Marie Forleo called Everything is Figure Outable.
Oh, I
And
love that book.
yes, I love that book. And I think it's so memorable also because I read it during a time when I was really trying to figure out what I'm doing and what's going on. So that book has always really stuck with me as one of my favorites.
100%. 100%. It's been a long time since I read it, but I do remember reading it. I'm like, oh my gosh, right now, this was everything that like I needed to hear. Especially because I love one of our older podcast episodes with Allie. She is the CEO of Oat House. And I was just watching her stories the other day and I was cracking up because she shared a little snippet of, I think of a podcast. I don't remember which one, but they were just saying like, honestly, entrepreneurship is like super irrational. Like, what are we doing? Because it's like you would be so much better off in the sense of like work and boundaries of working like for a company. And, here we are as entrepreneurs, like have this burning desire to, have create create and live out this passion that we have. But it's just like so crazy because we usually work more than like what we do at like a job for the most part. And then it literally is just like a roller coaster of like lows, and highs though. I mean, the highs are, gosh, they're incredible. And they kind of what keep us going. But man, those lows are low, as I'm sure like so much like worry and fear, which hopefully we don't have that because we know it is figure outable, we know it will work out, but it would be a lie to say like we don't still have those emotions and feelings. And so I was just cracking up because I'm like, it's so true, like being an entrepreneur is so irrational. But we just
Yeah.
love what we do. So I mean, I think in that podcast episode, the whole point was like, if you have this burning desire to do something and you literally cannot live in this world without doing it, like that's how you can like you have to go for it. Because I'm like, yeah, even nowadays I can even be in a slump and just be like, what, I'm burning it all. I'm just gonna go work for a company. Like I'm so mentally exhausted trying to figure out all the things. But then I know I'll look back, and I do look back and I'm like, gosh, look how far we've come, look at what we've overcome. And if everything is really figure outable, even if it doesn't feel like it in the moment.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I think, you know, it's even more important as an entrepreneur to find balance for yourself and kind of create something that grounds
Yeah.
you because it is easy to work all the time. Like
Yeah.
I definitely go to bed thinking about my company.
Always.
I wake up thinking about it, and it's exciting because it is,
Yeah.
what I'm most passionate about. But I think it's even more important to find practices and wellness techniques that, you can unwind and kind of turn all of the
Absolutely.
mental chatter and all of the noise out to just find stillness and mindfulness, really.
100%. And that is something that Oh gosh, I feel like I might be just figuring it out. Been in business for like 8 years. So if you're in the beginning of it, don't stress, because I think we're all, when we're first starting something, there's so much excitement, and like working till like late, honestly, sounds great because it's just so new. But once you become more seasoned, yes, I even started feeling the craving to have that. And actually one of my favorite things that has helped me is actually buying chickens, because they force me to go outside. They force me to, take care of them and clean up their coop and all that stuff. But I was like, wow, this like has forced me to actually take a break. So honestly, every episode, I'm just going to say, just get some chickens. You will have all solved life's problems. But
Well, I'm eager to, I did live in big cities for the last decade, but I do have a garden now. So I'm starting slow. Maybe
yes,
chickens are down the line for me, but I have an herb garden, flower garden, hope to get some vegetables going next year. So I'm easing into it, but it's been really great to be able
yeah.
to be closer to nature and, just be outside a lot more.
Yeah. So I'm sure that's pulling you outside, right? Like a little bit more than probably if you didn't have a garden.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I think we just need to kind of get back to just incorporating, and I feel like you can even do this living in the city. I know it's easier outside the city, but I do believe even if you're in a city, you can do it. But just going back to like what our ancestors did like a long time ago, and just incorporating little things like that. I do think it just makes a big change. And even when I started doing some like einkorn sourdough, like even that was helping me one get back to like working with food. And I'm a person that like loves to cook, but even I go through slumps of like, I don't want to cook. I'm just not in the mood to, but that was just so like nourishing for my soul of just getting back to what it is being a human and creating food to like nourish your body. I don't know. There's something about that was so therapeutic, and you can definitely live in the city and do that.
Yeah.
So I
No,
feel
I
like those
love that.
ancestral like practices or traditions, I'm like, I think we just need to get back to it, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I did work as a health coach for a while. I'm more focused on the product side now, but that was always one of the first things when I would work with clients. It's like, let's start by getting in the kitchen and cooking again. And
Yeah.
I it's like when you're cooking something, in a state of gratitude and calmness, you're putting good energy in that food. And it's just, the food may be
Yes.
healthy, but it's going to be even better by just putting that good energy into it, and just enjoying the experience of cooking.
What would you suggest for someone who doesn't love cooking?
Yeah, I always say, it's best to try to set up your pantry and, everything so it's not as hard, so it's not as challenging. You can have a lot of the dry goods, the spices, your favorite grains, your dried beans or lentils, whatever you enjoy eating, you can have all of that. And then each week you're really just buying the fresh produce, meat if
Yeah.
you eat it. So it can be very simple if you start to just have all of the dry goods and spices on hand. I
Yeah.
think cooking something healthy doesn't mean it has to be just like a plain piece of chicken and steamed broccoli. It can taste so good and have so much flavor. So I think just
Yeah.
having all those pieces and parts and kind of building your pantry so it's less overwhelming. I think, you can really cook something healthy in under 30 minutes, no
Yeah.
matter what cuisine you like or what you're trying to eat. So I think that's would be my advice, would just to have the dry goods, the spices, build your pantry up and go from there.
Love it. Well, we appreciate all the time that you've taken out today to chat with us about your routines and habits. And it's so encouraging and so excited to see where the company is going. So please share with us, how can we support you? Where can we find your products, social media, website, all that good stuff?
Yeah, so our Instagram is at Alevan Botanica, and 11 spelled Alevan. So it sounds like the number. And then our website is alevanbotanica.com. So we do have an online shop. There's a lot of information about all the products, what each one is good for, as well as a little bit more about Ayurveda and aromatherapy. There is a blog also that, bi-weekly I'm putting up a new topic, whether it's seasonal or Ayurvedic or, essential oil to kind of highlight. So there's lots of information on there as well.
Oh, I love that. Yay. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.